Epic. You want it all and you can have it. On Amigos, episode 314. Hi, everybody. Welcome to Amigos. I'm John.
And I'm Aaron.
And today, Aaron, we're going to be talking about Epic.
Ooh.
Now, speaking of Epic, Aaron, I'm going to list a couple different some albums here, okay?
Yeah.
Get ready.
Okay,
Get
I'm ready. I'm ready.
How about a little album called What's Going On by Marvin Gaye?
All right.
All right. You a fan of that record?
Marvin Gaye's okay. I like some of his stuff.
Okay. How about Blue by Joni Mitchell?
You know.
No?
I like some of Joni's stuff.
Okay.
That's old school, Boat. That's old.
Okay, what about this? Aqualung.
I like
by
that.
Jethro
the
Tull.
Tull, man, yeah.
The Tull.
Heavy metal
the Tull.
flute. I love that. That's good stuff.
And right at the top, Led Zeppelin 4.
Oh,
you on
man.
board with the lead?
Yeah, that's the king dong of albums right there.
Yeah. Now, what do all those records have in common, Aaron?
They flat, round, hole in the middle.
True. And they were all released in 1971, just like you were. That's right, folks. 50 years ago this week, the one, the only Amigo Aaron burst onto the scene. Maybe that's a bad metaphor for something when you're being born. You emerged into life. You joined planet Earth and were forever grateful. You know, so many people come up to me and they say, what are you going to do this week for Aaron's birthday? What do you got planned? You know, are you going to do something cool? And I thought, well, I wanted to give him something special, something that I know he can use because I'm subject to the various complainings of Aaron on a weekly basis. When he's down on something, he's down on it, brother. But when he's up on things, he loves them. Well, I'm hopeful that this gift will bring some sunshine into his day. So, Aaron, you wanna do the honors over there?
You know, well, I'll get into it in a second. Let's see. I've got the box. Boat stopped by here about 10 minutes before the show started. Oh, God. Well, let me show this to the people. Here we go. The N64 Brawler Boat. Is that what I'm looking at here?
Now, you are famous for being, let's say, not a fan of the original N64 controller.
That's true. It's crap.
However, you are a fan of the N64 as a console. In fact, you have an EverDrive for the N64.
I actually have two of these. Two of the N64s.
Yeah.
For some reason. So, yes, I do like the N64. Oh, look at that. Isn't that nice?
So I thought, why not get you a modern controller that has all of the convenience of your modern 360 or some such controller, but works as completely compatible with the Nintendo 64.
And we'll say it does feel 400 million times better than the original. There's the gimmick on there. That's dandy, Boat. That's awful nice. I've even got the USB. I guess I could. Wonder if I can actually hook this up to the PC.
I believe you can. You can hook it up to the PC, or you can use it with the N64. Either way.
Isn't that nice? Well, thank you, Boat. That's an excellent.
You're welcome.
That's awful nice of you. You know, I was, before the show today, you stopped by here, and before you stopped by, I had thought to myself, before we go on the air and start streaming, I'm going to make sure to tell Boat under no circumstances since you mentioned my birthday today, and you undermined me without even knowing it. I'm not feeling so great about this one, if I'm honest. But time marches on, as they say, and so it will take me some weeks and months to acclimate myself to hitting the big 5-0. But I have a few more hours to go before it happens, so. I'm gonna do my best, but generally, I took Monday off with the assumption that I would be a sloppy, globulous blob of liquored up doom by then, and then I will try to rally for Tuesday and get back into the swing of things. So there you go. But thank you, Bo. Thanks everybody in the chat. I appreciate that. It's awful nice of you.
But Aaron, yours was not the only birthday this week. We'd also like to wish a very happy birthday to one Rob Flack O'Hara.
Yes.
His birthday was just a couple weeks ago, and Edvin Helen, whose birthday
Yes.
is today.
Yes.
Today, Aaron. So we wish all the best to Rob and Edvin, hopefully, who's joining us now from the man cave.
You know, one thing I will say about those two gentlemen, all right? And you've ever heard the phrase "live your best life"? You ever heard that, Boat?
I do.
And
I have
I
heard that.
suspect that both those gentlemen are doing just that. They are living their best life, having adventures, always jolly, having a good time, and both fine fellows indeed.
Yes, yes. I have never agreed more with anything you've ever said than that. So, with all that out of the way, Aaron, birthday wishes are gone. It's time to dive deep into this week's Amiga News.
Amiga News.
I love that bit.
All right, Aaron, we're going to kick things off with a video from Dan Wood. This is the first video I've seen out of Dan in a little bit. Of course, Dan, half of the Retro Hour that he does with the one and only Ravi Abbott. Huge Amiga fan from way, way back in the day. This is an in-depth review of the Amiga 3000, and he titles this video, Amiga 3000, the best Amiga ever. Now, Aaron, you never actually owned a 3000, right?
No, we did own one, believe it or not. Me and the Brent had one very briefly. We had a 3000 and a 4000T for a spell with a
there's something
with a video toaster, the whole 9 yards, but we didn't. I'm not sure we ever even actually powered it up, Bo. If I'm honest.
Now, I think personally that the 3000 is the best looking big box Amiga. The 1000, of course, is iconic because of the keyboard garage. But once you get past that, it's basically your standard pizza box design. The 4000 went all the way into the boring beige box territory. But the Amiga 3000, Aaron, the sort of the lines on the machine, the way it hits those angles just right. I'm a big fan of the way that this thing looks. It looks like it's a futuristic computer, something different than what you might see at other places. And so I would love personally to have a 3000. It's pretty much the only Amiga left on my wish list. And who knows, maybe one day that will come to fruition. But big ups to Dan. Make sure you watch this video and find out everything you could possibly want to know about the Amiga 3000.
Yeah, this one stuck past me. I don't know how I missed this because I watch all of Dan's stuff. I love Dan's stuff, and I will say that the Checkmate case that was launched a couple years ago. Of course, it used the 3000 sort of as its benchmark or its starting point. And I think it was a good choice. I agree with you. It's a big box, but it's sleek. It's not like a monster.
Right.
Now, I'm old school, Boat, and so if I was going to get one of these things, box-wise, I'd probably go for the 2. I know it's not the prettiest, but I just like the fact that it's huge. There's lots of space in there. This one's a little harder to deal with, but I mean, I can't deny the fact that it's a darn fine-looking unit. There's no doubt about that.
Absolutely. So, all right, Aaron, let's move on to our next story. It's been a pretty good news week here on the Amigos. The Amiga scene is popping off. Guess what, Aaron? There is a new Amiga magazine in town. So, of course, we have friend of the show, sponsor of the show, Amiga Addict is out there. We've also recently heard about the new magazine called Boing Amiga. We covered that a couple weeks ago.
Sorry.
That
name. I don't know. It's wacky to me.
It's wacky. Now, Aaron, we have Zap Amiga. Now, the word Zap should probably resonate with many of our listeners, as they're most famous for their C64 and ZX Spectrum publications. I believe they started out as a C64 rag, but they've done other things as well.
Yeah.
Now, the Zap Amiga is being funded by Patreon. So basically, the way it works is if you pledge $2.50 a month, you'll have you get access to a PDF of each issue of Zap. $6.50 a month gets you the magazine itself. This is going to be a 60-page thing, so this is not a small little magazine.
No.
And if you pay $7.50 a month, that's going to get you. Actually, I guess I have no idea what is different about the 750 versus the 650. So we'll have to investigate that further, Aaron. But this thing is the A5 size. I believe the old A5 size is a smaller magazine. This is something along the likes of a like a Reader's Digest type magazine.
I'm looking at this boat, and I can't tell the difference. It's either. I've read this 2 or 3 times. Are we idiots? I don't know what's happening. It looks like the exact same thing, except the vat's more expensive.
I will say this. I slightly misspoke because of the way that Patreon works. They're only set up to take monthly pledges, but you can actually set up your page to only withdraw money from the people that pledge from you once per quarter.
It's non-UK versus UK boat. That's what the difference is.
Oh, okay.
The top part. I would move that down to the bottom for dumb guys.
Yeah, for dumb guys
everybody.
like us.
So
that makes all the sense in the world. So $7.50 per month, that covers the postage by the tier price. That's very reasonable.
Yeah,
that's very
for a
reasonable.
non-UK person. That seems like a real. I mean, wow, that's a darn good deal, I think. Yeah, not bad.
Yeah. So again, we're not all about trying to say, there's only room for one Amiga publication out there. There's room for everybody. And bringing magazines back into circulation, boom, is something that I'm fully endorse. I fully endorse it because I love.
I don't endorse your drum strike there. What the heck? You have to say something funny before you get those.
Listen, I was hilarious.
Oh, God.
So anyway, Zap Amiga, it is coming soon, and you can support it by going over to patreon.com/Zap Amiga, and that's Zap with two big Z's.
What do you think about this boat? That's 3 or 4, because there's other existing Amiga magazines. I'm assuming that the French one that we talked about is still around. There were some others. Can you get over the fact that there's all these magazines? Were there any? I think the only thing that was around when we started was just that one that was in France, wasn't it?
Yeah,
that was the only one.
So. Yeah,
it's amazing to me that we've got all this stuff. It's a treasure trove of good stuff. If you're an Amiga fan, I can't believe
it is. It is, and I'll tell you what else is a treasure trove, Aaron. That's a little site called Amazon.com.
Oh yeah,
I shop there from time to time.
Yeah, and you send stuff back there occasionally too.
Yes. Now, Aaron, this may surprise you because I believe that you thought this wasn't going to happen, but it has happened. Pre-orders are open in the United States for the A500 Mini. Now, the actual listing is misspelled. It's the AS500 Mini. So I don't know if there's shenanigans going on here, or we've got some people that are just really inept at their jobs.
Seems legit.
But this is up for sale right now on Amazon, $139.99 with free Prime shipping. This item is going to be released on March 31st, 2022. So if you are in stateside and you've got a hankering for the new mini Amiga that everybody's talking about these days, you can pre-order it now from Amazon.
That's a good shot of the controller right there, Boat.
It is.
For those listening on their listening device, we're looking at a picture of the controller here. It's the first time I've really taken a good hard look at it. Have you used the CD32 controller before, Boat?
I have. I've used yours before.
Right. What did you think? It's got a bad rap, and I think the thing is, as stupid as it looks, I think it's a pretty comfy controller. Now the gamepad part's pretty mushy, Boat.
Well, I mean, it's sort of like saying the controller is great except for the part that actually controls the game.
I'm just talking about the overall, because that's what matters here. This is sort of ripping off that. That's not the worst idea, I think.
Yeah.
Now, if they get the controls right, we'll be laughing,
Listen, they've done the smart thing by replacing the play, pause, and stop buttons on the face buttons with letters.
Well, you don't think people are going to be using this thing to watch movies?
Yeah. And they, the menu and home buttons are on there. So of course, this is going to be entirely controllable with the custom UI on the A500 Mini. This is exactly what I would have done. I think going with the lighter shade instead of going, because the the CD32 controller is a dark gray.
Yeah.
Going with a lighter shade to match the tank mouse is a great move. I know there was some panic in the Amiga community because they released a
No.
shot, I think, of the tank mouse with a black controller
Yes.
or a black cord instead of
Yeah.
a gray or beige cord. So they put that to rest. They say that was just a prototype. I think that the controller and the mouse look super slick, and I imagine it's only a matter of time before these are sold separately.
Here's the problem with getting rid of the play and the pause. When they release the MPEG expansion board for the A500 Mini, then you're going to feel bad when you don't know what the controls
That's
are.
right.
Bode.
You're right. Then you'll be laughing with your real CD32
That's
controller.
right, bud.
So yeah, it'll be interesting to see if this is actually a legitimate listing and if people end up with the A500 Mini or the AS 500 Mini, which might just be one of those.
They left an S off, Bode.
Yeah.
I think I'll stick with my good buddy who took care of me on this, just in case.
Good move. Good move. All right, Aaron. Speaking of games, there's this Amiga Game Jam that Amiga Cami is hosting is bringing tons and tons of programmers out of the woodwork. This is the arcade port Game Jam, and Target Renegade is coming out for the Amiga. Of course, this is probably most famous for home release. I believe that Renegade was an arcade game, and then Target Renegade was a console and computer only sequel that never hit the arcade. I believe that that's the case. I remember from when we covered this on our Sinclair. But anyway, there is a programmer that is I guess Detailed Development is a group that is going to bring the ZX Spectrum version of the classic Target Renegade to the Amiga. I think this would be pretty good, Aaron. Do you remember playing Target Renegade on our Sinclair? Oh, this is Swaney. Swaney is doing this.
Yes.
Okay.
I was gonna say Swaney from Retro Asylum is sort of famous for being in.
He
love
loves
with this
Target
game,
Renegade. Yeah.
and so he actually is the guy behind this. Is that what you're telling me?
Well, it says that, and I'm reading, of course, where we get all of our news from Indie Retro News, our buddy Neil. He says, I guess the creator was written, it started about 15 years ago in Blitz Basic for the PC.
Yeah.
But then with the help of Swaney, he had recolored all of the ZX Spectrum graphics over to the Amiga, with most of the first level working, with a small exception of baddies attacking you, which I think is probably pretty essential to do this. But, this is a work in progress, obviously. Hopefully this will be in time for the Amiga Game Jam. I am super, super stoked for the Amiga Game Jam this year. This is going to be a cavalcade of great releases.
It's funny because I remember, if you listen to Retro Asylum, and I've listened to them for a long time, Swaney has talked about fiddling with some of this stuff, but I hadn't heard it mentioned for a while. So I guess someone picked up the gauntlet boat and ran with it. So that's awesome. So I'm anxious to see how this turns out, man.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, Aaron, we're going to move on to Tin Mark in his latest video. We touched on this briefly last week, so we won't spend a whole lot of time here, but we will say that he has released a new video where he received an Amiga 600 from Sanction, aka Tim Drew, over in England, and he goes to work with this thing. This is going to be a multi-part video where he unwraps a bunch of goodies, including the Cadbury Crunchies. We've had a few of those in our day, Aaron.
Those are good eating, Bo.
Yeah, sent to us from people overseas. But yeah, and he also got some great some ale, which is always a good time. You're going to need that when you're working on your Amiga. So yeah, if you are interested in watching this Amiga 600 unboxing, the first part, make sure you check out 10-Minute Amiga Retrocast's latest video.
Yeah, Doug pulls all the crap out here, and so he's ready to dug it up. So we'll see what he gets into.
Dug it up could be one of his side projects. I think.
Yeah, there you go.
All right, Aaron. This video just landed earlier this week. This is a new compilation video of what purports to be the 20 best Commodore Amiga shoot 'em ups ever. This is from Old Style Gaming, OSG. And he covers some games that I'd heard of, but there are also some games on here that I wasn't quite aware of. Now, Aaron, if you were going to list your favorite Amiga shoot 'em ups, what would be the 2 or 3 at the top of the list for you?
Oh boy, I gotta think about that for a minute, Boat. I would go with Battle Squadron, Silkworm, Hybris. Let me think here. Of course, Banshee. People like that one. It's pretty good.
Yeah. Now I noticed now that if you're watching the video version of the podcast, I added this link and then I had to remove it to reorder some things, and then I never added it back.
Yeah.
And so
I've been
we're not
wondering
seeing too much on the video version. But anyway, if you want to see what old style gaming thinks, and I might have even call them old school gaming because I'm just great. Old style game, if you want to see what he thinks, you can check out his video that was just released back on August 26th. Let's move on, Aaron. Past my mistakes, past my humiliation.
I was furrowing my brow. Look, I kept waiting for it to appear, Boat.
Now, Aaron, we're going to jump right up here to this Retro Rewind testimonial next.
Oh,
the links are all messed up because I was trying to be clever.
That's all right. Don't do that.
So this is a testimonial that came in on the Amigos Retro Gaming Discord from the one and only Tapes from the Crypt.
Oh, yes. What a great guy he is.
He says, just wanted to shout out to NetSurge, who is Frank from Retro Rewind, on his work on recapping my A1200 and CD32. The entire process has been painless, and the frequent updates he provides have set my mind at ease. He says, if you're on the fence, don't be. The hype is real.
There you go. There you go. And we know Tate's. We've known Tate's forever. He is a straight shooter. He would tell you it was no good, my friends. And that right there. I had no doubt. As soon as this month's over, I'm going to begin the massive deconstruction of my Amigas to start. I'm going to send stuff in mass up there to get it done.
That sounds like the way to go, man.
I'll be honest with you. I can recap things, but I'm lazy and I don't have any time. And I will pay a professional with all his professional gizmos to take care of my business. I'm not too proud, Boat. I'll do it that way.
Absolutely. So if you want to click back over and check out this CD32 recap service, you can see that he is very, very reasonable.
Yeah.
He offers recaps on all Amigas from the 1000 all the way up to the 4000D. And the Amiga CD32 recap service, just to use an example, $54, Aaron. That is the bargain of the century.
I know. Like I said before, I sent him a message like, you're out of your mind, Frank. But he's good. What can I say?
And Aaron, if you want to save 10% off that, so if you only want to pay $50 instead of 54, use that promo code Amigos10 at checkout, and you can save 10% off this or any order.
Very good, Bo. Very good.
We do appreciate Retro Rewind, and we thank them for being an official sponsor of Amigos. All right, Aaron, are you ready to get epic?
Oh, man, you know I am, Boat.
Yeah.
Let's do it. So, the game this week, simply titled Epic. So you know it's gold when you name it that, Boat.
Yeah.
Boat, had you come across this one before?
This is another game sort of like Awesome. And I'm not going to make any value judgment on Awesome at this time. But when you go out of your way to name your game Epic or Awesome or Super Cool, that's a signal to me that you don't believe in your product. So I did not check out Epic.
Do you think they're overcompensating with that?
A little bit.
Jeez. Well, there you go. So Epic is the game released in the year of our Lord, 1992, Boat. This came on 3 discs and published by Ocean, so you know it's gold there, too.
Mm-hmm.
Developed by an outfit called Digital Image Design. Now, we've come across them before, Boat. They were responsible for F-29 Retaliator, the very wacky RoboCop 3. Remember when we played that?
Yeah, we played that at Amigathon.
Yeah.
So these guys really know what they're doing in terms of like 3D modeling.
Yeah. And the
is what
TFX AGA, yes.
Yeah.
So this was designed by a fellow named Martin Kenwright. He did all the ones we just mentioned. Plus, he also worked on Falcon, so you can see a trend here.
Mm-hmm.
He also worked on a game simply called Jug. It's got the 3 X's on it.
Wow.
And then Turbo Tracks, not to be confused with Turbo Tax. And this was coded by Phil Alsop, who worked on F-29 as well. and coded by Russell Payne. This was converted to the Amiga because it says so in the credits. I don't exactly know what it was converted from. I'm going to go with, well, it's either the ST or the NEC, because this released on the DOS version, but it was a year later. So I'm going to assume they maybe worked on this at the same time as the ST. Who knows, Boat? Who knows? The music in this was done by a good friend of ours, a man we've literally covered a million times.
I feel like I've known him my whole life at this point.
Yeah, David Whitaker. Boat, I was looking over his credits, and I thought, I'm going to write down every game he's done that we covered. I just gave up because there were so many, but just to name a few. Alfred Chicken, Bubble Bobble, Cosmic Pirate, Dogs of War, Fright Night, Golden Axe, First Person Pinball, Graham Gooch Cricket, Gunship 2000, Xenon 2. He did all those and more, much more. Another musician on this was a guy named, Osteen Ide. Let's go with that.
Okay.
AKA the Maniacs of Noise. But now, the tune in this, I was reading people discussing that one of the tunes in this sounded very similar to a tune in RoboCop 3. Okay. And I'm going to get into the story behind that, I think. So, the version of this game for the Amiga has sort of unique sound. The NEC and the Atari ST, the music in it was from the planets. A host the planets. You've got Mars.
Some of my favorite classical music.
It's a great collection, isn't it?
It's a great record Holst put out.
By the way, that was the show where I was the soloist and we did it in the band. I was the bringer of war, by the way.
You were.
That's my nickname.
You still are.
Yeah, you got that right. So anyway, if you listen or have a look at the Atari ST version of this, it's got the Planet suite in it, right? And it uses like Atari ST, like their specialized music. It's pretty good.
I'm gonna have to check that out because I had no idea, and that's worth listening to.
Let's just say it's better. I don't think this music's bad, but that's better. And, so there's a little tidbit for you. But so anyway, it's been speculated upon that the Maniac of Noise here pulled a little environmentally safe music number here, aka he recycled some material. You know what I mean? Anyway, this was out for the ECS OCS, and again was not an Amiga original. This was released on the Atari ST, the NEC PC 98, and then a year later for DOS. I tried to find footage of the NEC version, which I could not find anywhere. And so if anybody knows of any footage of this on the NEC, blink it up to me. I'd like to have a look at it. But this was released on DOS a year later, and we'll look at that in a little while. The full title of this boat, Epic: The Adventure Begins. This is a game where you fly around in space. Now, I want to talk about the opening to this though. Before we get to it, Boat, this has an elaborate opening montage of footage to explain the storyline. Did you happen to read the manual for this thing?
Listen. Last week on ARG Presents, you went off on the NES for being the most infamous for its unskippable cutscenes.
Yes.
I beg to differ, good
These
sir.
were skippable.
Okay. First of all, I'm still waiting to hear what games you're referring to on the NES, because I don't think I've ever played a game that didn't have a skippable cutscene.
I played some stuff on stream last week that was unskippable.
I'll have to check out the stream. But this game, the amount of documentation about the backstory, the manual is and I don't have a problem if you want to flesh out your game. That's not a problem at all. What I do have a problem is when you obfuscate what you're supposed to do in the game by dressing it up all around all this stuff that really doesn't matter. And that's the problem. This game gives you 27 cutscenes at the beginning of the game that tell you everything about the world except for what you're actually supposed to do in the game.
Well,
that's no good.
It does have it is all set up. Let's get into it just real briefly, Bo, because Boat's not lying. There's enough flavor text in this thing to write 20 Star Frontier modules. I mean, it's flavor text to beat the band. But to summarize, let's put it this way: what would happen if you got a blender, Boat? All right, picture a big blender. Okay, So you like sci-fi, do you? And it's the 80s or late or early 90s. So what do you do? Because this game started its life in the 80s, in 89. So I loved, who didn't love Star Wars? All right, throw that in the blender. What about Star Trek? Well, heck, everybody likes that. All right, toss that sucker in the blender. Now, listen, I grew up in the era where we all loved Battlestar freaking Galactica, the original one with the dude playing Starbuck, right? It had Lorne Greene as Commander Adama, right? All your favorites. Chuck that in there too, right? Put that sucker on high, pour that into a cup, and then that's this game's backstory. They just took all the crap you could find from all these different genres. This reminds me of something story-wise that we would find in like a PD game that some dude wrote in his basement, you know, because the story for this is an amalgamation of ripping off other stuff. So what's happening in this, a planet's sun is preparing to go supernova, champagne supernova, and so they have to evacuate the whole planet, okay? So where are they going to go? Well, where they're going to go is across the neutral zone, okay? So keep in mind, you're leading a ragtag fugitive fleet on a lonely quest, right? Across the neutral zone, but you're continuously hampered by the Rexon Empire. Because
now, I'm going to stop you right there.
Yeah.
Everything you just said should have been what the game said. Because I listened to the words that were coming out of your mouth, and I understood what you were talking about.
Yeah.
Okay? I watched the intro for this game 5 or 6 times because I played it a couple times, and like you said, you can't skip it. You can sort of skip it, but you sort of can't. And then I was like, well, I'm going to record myself. So the footage we're watching right now is my gameplay footage. So then I watched it all again. And I still, the way that you explained it, I was like, oh, okay. All right. I'm with you. So Epic needs to get a you need to start writing copy for video games.
Thank you, man. I can at least summarize it. So now I'm going to boil this down a little bit more. If you ever watched the show Battlestar Galactica, which is before your time, Bo, but it was a big deal when I was a kid. It's a show about some people fleeing a planet because they're constantly under attack from the Cylons, right? Cylons are this kind of lizardy race of people that have these robots called Cylon Centurions that chase the humans all over the planet because they're trying to get to Earth, right? Because that's their sister planet. This all unfolds over seasons, right? So that game, so they ripped that off. By the way, if you'll look at what the ships that the Rexon Empire fly in the first couple missions, the Rexon fleet are flying the ships. The good guys fly at Battlestar Galactica, the Vipers, right? The fleet you represent are flying battle stars from the original Battlestar Galactica. So that's the part they ripped off the basic plot from Battlestar Galactica and some of the ships. Now, the Rexon Empire is sort of a cross between the Cylons and the Empire from Star Wars. And then all the stuff with the neutral zone. By the way, the name of your outfit's the United Federation of Planets, which is all that's directly from Star Trek.
I mean, that's what they're called in Star Trek, isn't it?
That's right. Also, if you look at the ships later on in the game, they're like the Rexon Empires have birds of prey from Star Trek and a couple others. So these are all straight up. Now listen, this is not a bad thing. You know, I don't mind that.
If you're going to steal from the best.
Oh,
that's
they
what
stole
I say.
from everything they could. In fact, one of the taglines in this, "May the Lords be with you," which I thought was funny. I thought, man, they had not one iota of original thought when they put this together. And I saw people complaining about the cutscenes in this because when you start the battle in this, they'll show cutscenes of your Viper or you don't fly a Viper, your whatever the heck your ship is called, the Epic ship. And they show it launching, and sometimes they'll recycle that footage as you go through the game. And also, they show like these long shots of the space fleet flying by and stuff.
It's very reminiscent of. I never watched the original Battlestar Galactica, but I watched the new one. It's very reminiscent of the shots from Battlestar Galactica.
Trust me when I tell you, Battlestar Galactica used the same 3 minutes of footage 6 million times. I haven't seen Battlestar Galactica for years, and I still remember the scenes. You know, they were over and over the same scenes because that stuff was expensive, brother. You can't make that. I love Battlestar Galactica so much, by the way, side note, that I took my handy dandy brand new cassette recorder, and I remember hitting record and sitting the thing beside the TV so I could listen to the episodes later in audio form.
That's awesome.
I was a big mark for that. In fact, even some of the missions in this, there's a mission where the fleet goes on the offense because they don't want to, because the Rexon Empire has been every time they attack, they've got to defend all these civilian vessels, and it's hard, and so they go on the attack. That's straight out of an episode of Battlestar Galactica, that exact plot. So they ripped off a lot of stuff. All right, y'all know that. So, all that said, how's this sucker play? Okay, you're the epic guy that's going to drive this new type of prototype fighter. It's because it's always like that, isn't it? Where it's not like they put you in an old fighter. Give that guy the
Let's
dud.
put him in something that's trusted and dependable. No, that never happens.
What's the Pinto of fighters? Give him that. So they give you
unsafe at any speed.
That's right. So they give you the epic class fighter, and apparently you've got 3 clones of yourself and the fighter standing by for all the many times you'll be killed. Now, before we get to the game itself, Bo, you sat through me talk about all this stuff. You sat through this opening. What were your thoughts on the opening, the music, the graphics, the length of it, all that stuff?
Listen, this is probably the best cutscenes, rendering, animation, etc. I think I've ever seen on the Amiga. I mean, all of the way that they combine the polygonal models with the pixel drawing of the hangars and the way they launch, it's very striking, and it's very nice looking. There's tons of animation on the ships. Of course, the ships themselves are not detailed; they look like Star Fox ships or whatever. But as a package, the way that this story, incomprehensible as it was to me, the way that it's laid out, and there are little things that I noticed. Like, for example, they'll put the text on the screen, and the ships will fly through the text, like they'll fly over top and the text will disappear. I thought, little stuff like that. I love that stuff. I think that's super cool. However, I knew my spidey sense was telling me this was going to be a setup for a game that could not possibly live up to the opening cut sequence.
Well, we shall discuss. So, what you do here in this game, your space adventure is split into 8 different levels. And each level has a couple of different sections, right? And they take place either over a planet, which I remember seeing, about 4 different types. I mean, the planets are sort of all color. They've got different stuff on them. It's not like these aren't radically different planets, but they're different. Or they'll be up in space. And you have to complete missions, and it's based on a time limit. By the way, for our good buddy Eric over at Pixelgate who hates time limits, don't ever play this. Because not only is there a tight time limit, but an annoying jerk that keeps telling you you're running out of time.
They constantly remind you, even when you're not really running out of time. Just like 30 seconds in, you're running out of time.
In fact, the UI in this was purposely put together just to annoy you. There's beeps and boops. Like, where are you? Basically, like, the mission's not over. That kind of stuff. Now, once you begin a mission, this game becomes cryptic. How about that? At least I'm going to tell you my side of it. If you disagree, let me know. You start the very first level. You're supposed to blow away some mines. Okay. Now, this game is. Did you play this with a stick or the mouse, Bode?
100% mouse.
I did it with the mouse as well. Okay, but and I could not get my stick to do anything. But the manual says you can use a stick, but I don't know how to do it. But I used the mouse. So. The controls.
You can use it. You can use a stick, but you also have to use the keyboard in conjunction, which is no good. Yeah.
So you control your actions with the mouse. The right mouse button fires, and the left mouse button basically. Stop me if I'm wrong here, Bode. You're either going full speed ahead or you're at a complete stop, but you're not. That's basically how this works.
The acceleration is interesting because it ignores the fact that space is a vacuum, and it also ignores the fact that when you're on a planet there's gravity. It plays both sides of the coin in a weird way. So like you said, you move at sort of a nominal speed when you are standing still. You can never truly stand still in this game, but you move very, very slowly. Whenever you press the mouse button, you rapidly accelerate. There's no such thing as like easing up on the throttle a little bit and just going along at cruising speed. You're going Mach 5. However, when you stop, you come to almost a dead stop. So you aren't carried along by your momentum at all. Which, I mean, to be honest with you, I think that's great. That made the game a lot easier for me to play. But it is totally unrealistic. And, you know, this game purports to be some sort of a space flying craft simulation. And no craft would ever be able to come to a dead stop like that unless, you know, it's maybe it's running on technology I don't know about. I don't know.
Well, so I'm gonna make a guess here, okay? Since some of this is based on Battlestar Galactica, the Vipers in Battlestar Galactica, it's funny, they had 3 buttons on the gear shift in them, all right? And one of them was your turbo, your thrust, all right? And they could thrust, and it would just go, and it would go. That's what this is. I think they tried to simulate what it would be like to drive one of those Vipers.
Okay.
Here's the problem with that. The controls in this suck, in my opinion. I hated them. I was all over the sky. I didn't like either going real fast or real slow. I didn't like that at all. And what made this game feel so much worse is that we just played Alienator last week, a public domain game with a similar setup. And in terms of the control of your ship, Alienator blows this thing out of the water. If I could have had the ship from Alienator and with the backgrounds and stuff in this game, you would have been in business. Because not only does it do movement better, it also does controlling your ship a million times better. Because one of the problems with this game, especially in space, is that you can't tell your pitch, your yaw, right? We learned those words last week. I can't tell where anything's at. You'll be right in the middle of stuff on your radar screen, but you can't tell what your
you have no altimeter.
Yeah.
You can't tell your orientation. There's no horizon line. This is basic stuff, people.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not as if this game came out in 1984.
It wasn't just me.
No.
Okay, now let me ask you another question. How often did you ram into the ground?
Constantly.
Right, because the ground it always looks the same. I mean, there's not enough waypoints to tell you when you're really that close, unless there's crap right there. And most of the ground's sort of blank. And so I would constantly, and also to shoot stuff, you have to get kind of low. I played this on, did you play this on your Mister?
No, I played this on FSUAE.
I played this on the Mister. When the Mister runs a little bit faster than a stock 1200, so this ran at a pretty good clip. And in fact, I think it ran a little too fast. I had to slow it down because I didn't have the time to react, basically. But the truth of the matter is, with the thrust being like it was, when you're trying to get somewhere real quick and you can't understand how far you are from it, or how, I was hitting the ground a lot, bouncing off stuff. I would want to shoot something, and the radar would say I was on it. I'd be like, where the heck is it? I couldn't find stuff. The radar was confusing. You get
I'm sorry.
No, go ahead, Bo.
The main, you hit the nail on the head. It's fortuitous that we played this game so close to Alienator, because how in the world could a public domain game, which ostensibly is one guy, come up with a better radar system, a better ship positioning system, ship visualization system, and a better targeting system than a game that has, a team, multiple people working for real money, developing this game for a major publisher? It boggles the mind. And it leads me to believe that this game was set to sell on the praise of the opening cutscenes alone. I do believe that this game, the opening cutscenes were released before the game. Did you read anything about that?
Well, this game had a troubled development. All right, it was a 3-year development, and from what I read, having nosed around, they started off strong on this, and then they sort of hit the wall on it, and then they sort of worked on it in between other projects. Okay, and so Ocean was finally like, "Hey, Spudheads, like, where's the freaking game?" And they were like, how many work's coming? They're like, no, finish it up right now. And so, bam, lo and behold, this sucker gets released. Now, here's the hilarious part of this, and we'll get to it a little bit more when we do the reviews. They had like a pre-release of this on the Amiga, And not only did it include stuff that's not in the final release, but it even had stuff in it like that old music we talked about, the planets, which is not in the. So that ended up having hilarious results on down the line. But a lot of stuff wasn't mixed into this thing. In fact, this has the classic example. If you look at the manual in it, the manual has a bit in it where it's talking about like sort of it's like, you know how it had all that flavor text in it.
Yeah, and by the way, if you ever look at the manual, it is illegible because they use like red colored ink on purple colored backgrounds. I mean, the people that did the layout on this thing are out of their minds. I try because I try and look at I always like looking at Hall of Light because they've got scans of the actual manual versus the print copy that's on Lemon. This one is but this one I couldn't do it. It just made my head hurt. So yeah, it's no good.
Well, get this. And so this isn't the first time this has happened. There's a glossary that like I said, was telling you that tells you all the stuff in the game. And this was, by the way, they reprinted this in the printout of the manual I read. And one of the things they had at the end was describing an ion, and it says an ion is described as a particle of fill in later.
Great.
And so they even translated this to all the different languages. So there you go. Now, and this is just an anecdote here, but I thought this was funny. I saw this on Moby. It said Amiga Power magazine gleefully pointed out this oversight in their review. Amiga format ignored it, perhaps as a result of their own placeholder accident in the previous issue, in which a headline reads, "Type some bleep in here, please," on a page particularly aimed at children. So, whoops.
Yeah, they probably weren't falling over themselves to accuse somebody else of doing the same thing at that point.
And we'll get into some more of that here in a minute, but I just thought that was interesting that this thing, like I said, for everything I read, this thing was rushed. And, the funny thing about it is they put their own, even the manual contains the cheats for the game. So
yeah.
Because, and by the way, which brings me to something else that I've got a problem with in this game. I'm assuming you did what I did and cheated. Because I could not refill fuel to save my life. And that seems to be a perennial issue in this game, is refilling your fuel.
I could not get the cheat to work. The cheat is you're supposed to hold down left shift and then type essentially like a sentence backwards, or it's some sort of quote unquote funny joke. And I just couldn't get it to work. So I was unable to cheat and I paid the price.
Well, there's a thing here. Basically, if you push the joystick down to the right and press enter, you'll get full shields and weapons. All right, okay. You can see that one. There's a fuel scoop in this, okay, to refuel. Right, I almost always lost my ship because I couldn't refuel. Okay, so to summarize, this game has an error in the manual where they didn't insert the information later, and they put in the cheats because they knew the game was effectively unplayable, for the most part. Now, was the game unplayable? I would go with a no, because I've seen people that claim they beat it. Okay, so clearly it can be beaten by somebody. Is it beatable by me, given the parameters that you operate under? No, it's not. I mean, you can beat missions. Like, I don't know how many missions you got into it. I got several missions in, all right, and they weren't fun. They weren't fun missions, and I wanted them desperately to be fun, because I remember playing this as a kid, and the opening, as cheesy as this whole game is, it's the kind of game I could get into, but I could not get into the gameplay mode.
Here's the problem. The problem is that they don't. Okay, let me back up. This game controls fine. It's not the best controlling game I've ever seen in my life, okay, but it's fine. I was able to maneuver around. Where this game falls apart is it doesn't do a good enough job of projecting where you are in the 3D universe. The radar is poor. There's no horizon line, so you're constantly, if you get off that, especially if you get off that map, if your little purple square stops flashing, then you are in trouble. So the thing is, if they would have on Lemon, there's a page on Lemon for Epic called Solution. Okay, what this is it's 2 or 3 sentences that explain what you have to do in the mission. So I'm just going to read the first one. Operation Breakout, level 1. First, keep destroying mines until your completion percentage is 100%. Then head for the planet. At the planet, follow Hog 334 until you come across 2 generators. Destroy them both and follow the road to the center of the map. Here you'll find a radar, so destroy it. Okay?
Yep.
This is
I
not a
looked
cheat.
into that, by the way.
This is not a cheat. This is what you call a mission briefing.
Yes,
This is
yes.
what real games have. They tell you what to do.
Yes.
Okay? This is what this game desperately needs. It desperately needs guidance. And that ruins what could be an okay game. Okay, because when I had this page open, I was able to complete 2 or 3 missions just like you, because I was able to tell what to do. When you lock in on targets, it tells you what you're locking in on if you use the photon
that's real cool.
torpedoes.
It even shows a picture, a camera shot of
yeah,
yeah.
It's a cool effect, because when you hone in it on first, it shows you a wireframe picture of your target, and then when you launch a torpedo, it actually shows the torpedo coming in and blowing up the target in full color.
Yeah.
Very cool effect.
That was neat.
Very cool effect. So the thing that stops this game, there are 2 things that stop this game from being a good game. The first is the poor radar, the poor ship visualization, and the second thing is the lack of a mission briefing to give you any real information about what you're supposed to be doing on each stage.
Well, I don't like the controls. I mean, you said you were tolerable with them. I hated them.
Yeah, I thought they were tolerable.
I didn't like them at all. I mean, again, listen, I just had caviar. Why do I have to eat Spam? That's what like you said, the PD game got it right. These suckers can't get it. They had 3 years. Get it together, goofs. Secondly, you're dead on about the missions. They're just abstract and weird. But there's other stuff that makes this game weird. I'm going to give a few examples. And this is the embodiment of, like, they didn't have time, right? If you go into some of these areas to shoot stuff, and you're, like, as you go in to blow up ground targets, for example, or in the air when you're fighting in space, the Viper, enemy ships will come in at you, right? If you just sit and watch them, once they get into the picture, they'll just fly around in circles. They just...
Yeah.
They'll spin around, and I'm just like, and you just watch them go by, like, what's that? There are these cars that are on the roads, occasionally on the ground. Did you ever watch any of the cars?
They're right out of RoboCop 3.
Yeah, but did you watch what they did? They drive down the road,
drive on the road,
and then they just drive right back, just back and forth on and the road goes nowhere. So these cars. It's
hard
like,
living in the future.
It's like pushing that boulder. It's like, this is a punishment you get after you die. It's like, listen, go drive your space car back and forth on that runway for the rest of your life.
This is the stone of Sisyphus in the 23rd century.
That's right. And so, but there's a lot of that kind of stuff. That just where the AI is just like, listen, they were like, it's like the AI of like Blood Money. Just like, send it in, random patterns, go. And they come rumbling. If you watch the videos of the cutscenes, there's always 1 or 2 ships that are just doing loops. Like, what are they doing? How much herb are they smoking up on the Bowstar? No wonder they're getting killed. They're spreading those ships. Watch every cutscene, you'll see it. So, now, that much said, 3 discs for this amount of stuff's cool. Also, the game's supposed to be fairly short. I didn't get anywhere near the end. One of the things I found, there he goes. One of the things that amused me about this is, I'm assuming you watched that once you got killed, the flavor text.
Mm-hmm.
Once the Roxanne Empire crushes your fleet, it's killed too, because they didn't believe there was actually a supernova, so they all die too. So even if you lose, the Empire all gets murdered, so you got that going for you. That's a wacky ending, I thought.
It is. It's super wacky.
This game, I mentioned that this had a couple releases. This was released on the Atari in a 16-color mode. The Amiga, it's funny, I looked at these things side by side. They were very similar. I also want to show you the DOS port of this. The DOS port of this is actually really a lot better looking. Now, is it better playing? I'll leave that to someone that has more time than me to go try it. But it's smoother. They had time to work on this, and one of the things they did was, unlike the Amiga, the PC port was specifically made to play off the hard drive. And so what you get here was just more content. Although you could see that if you're watching the video, you could see the bird of prey right there. All it was doing was just going in a tight circle. He just rolled up and shot it. So clearly in the future, everyone has the same radar you've got. Because I'm pretty sure that's what the enemy would see if me and you were driving the thing around. You know what I mean?
Right.
You can see that the PC version, better explosions. It's got more cutscenes. It's got like you actually see people talking in it. Both versions have the ability for you to use external cameras, although I didn't do it that much. I don't know if you did, Bo, to try to play with the external cameras.
No.
That
always leads to crashing for me when I mess around with that stuff.
This game has a rep in the community as being like F-29 in space, which is because they built it on the same engine. We played that game a while back, and it's funny. I had the same problems in that game: overshooting targets, getting lost. So I guess that's. Maybe we're too dumb to drive these ships, Boat. It could be part of it. I don't know. So, let's talk about the reviews for this, because this review segment's going to take a little longer than usual, because the review people were absolute morons. Okay, so I mentioned before that they had sent out a preview edition of this that was months and months before, because it took so long to release it. That the preview version was out literally like 8 months early, okay? And so a lot of magazines did what you're not supposed to do. They just reviewed that as their review. Well, you shouldn't do that. So
wow.
Amiga Power called out the suckers here, if I may quote them. And this is what they wrote as their review. Other reviews, which you might have read in other magazines, usually glowing, we might add, which appeared in up to 6 or 7 months ago, were based on fairly early demo versions and thus are completely invalid. We'll say it now and say it loud. Reviewing unfinished games does the reader no service at all, and if you suspect the magazine is doing so, and there are a lot of which are guilty of this, you should either make their lives hell or simply stop buying the mag. And one of the mags they were referring to is CU Amiga, which absolutely did this because they mentioned a bunch of different stuff that wasn't in the game, plus they mentioned the wrong music. So it was pretty obvious to tell when the magazines were lying. And so, as you can imagine, the magazine ratings for this are all over the map. So let's get into them here. The Lemon people give this a 6.72, which is pretty low for them. The people in Moby give this 3.3 out of 5. So these are the reviews from back in the day. Ace gave this an 839, which is that's an 80%. Amiga actually gave this a 90. Amiga Format, as we just mentioned, gave it a 34. Believe it or not, Amiga Joker gave this a 74. They kind of liked it. Amiga Magazine, 8 out of 10. Amiga Power, not so much. They gave it a 34. CU Amiga gave it a 91, and then they revised their review to a 70 when they had the chance, because they were the one that got called to the carpet. And the one, which is another one that got called to the carpet, gave it an 88. So you can see these stats are all over the place. Total average on this 67% Boat.
Have we ever reviewed a game that has had such a wide spectrum of scores?
Well, I don't know, but I will say this. This is not, we'd all know that we read these reviews every month or every week. And we know some of these things are getting paid. Some suckers are just not playing the game that much or whatever. There's no way when you look at this game, I don't know, man, 92, if you look at a game like this and just watch the cutscenes and look at the box art and just play it a little, I can see where you could be like, holy smokes, what a game, without really delving too deeply into it. But I don't see how anyone could give this, like, say, a 91. That's a real stretch for me on this. I'd say, this is another game we cover where there's a lot of potential, but I wouldn't say there's I wouldn't call this an A+ player.
No, and I mean, this game certainly didn't bring anything about the genre forward. Right. It's nobody's talking about how Epic, led the way for, games to follow it. So it's not influential. Aside from the cutscenes, there's nothing particularly exciting about it. It's not a bad game. It's not a great game. It's sort of right there in the middle for me.
Yep. There was an expansion pack released for this, believe it or not, Boat. The one magazine had an expansion disc on the cover. It was issue 47. It was 2 missions, and everyone had complained that the game was too easy because of the cheats, so they disabled the cheats in this. They also said there would be more coming, but there were no more coming. I should mention that the PC version of this, they actually got a sequel, believe it or not, that the Amiga did not get. In fact, no one else got it. And I believe it was actually packaged with this game as a one big package deal. So that's almost sort of like they took a bath on the game in a lot of ways, if you package it like that. Did we get any Discord action on this one, Boatster?
We did. We got a couple reviews. We've got Negsol. He says, reading previews of the game and being a fan of the original Battlestar series, I loved the game even before getting my hands on a copy back in the day. It became one of my most played 3D polygon-based games on the Amiga, right there with F-29 Retaliator and F-18 Interceptor. I like the combination of space and planet surface combat. Also, the included cheats and password mission access was great and helped to mitigate some of the not-so-great game design decisions, like the timer and the percentage of mission completing objectives. Today, I respect the game for the graphics, the music, and for it being a technical marvel running on an Amiga 500, much like a self-running demo. The fact alone that it was compressed down to 3 discs and was playable with 2 disk drives without disk swapping is an achievement in itself. Sadly, today the gameplay should not be very attractive for anybody, especially considering Wing Commander and X-Wing TIE Fighter games move the bar to a new dimension in the space combat genre. All in all, a respectable and solid 7 of 10 in my book. Ricky DeRocha says, an interesting 3D space combat game up with a very cinematic presentation. Unfortunately, the refueling seems to be bugged, leading it to be almost impossible to finish the game without cheating, as one of the middle missions is very fuel demanding. Oddly, the cheat to refuel instantly as well as take away damage is printed in the game's manual. Not as good as Wing Commander, but it plays a lot faster than Wing Commander on a stock A500. That's definitely true, Ricky.
That's true.
Definitely worth a look, 8 out of 10. I wonder, this isn't the first game that people have sort of made excuses for playing well on an A500.
Yeah.
But the thing is, like, I don't care how well it plays on an A500. It's just not that great of a game. So, like, to me, that's not an excuse for putting out a mediocre product. Like, you can do that, and you can put out a great game and have it run on an A500 if you want to.
Yeah.
So, I don't buy it. Pajako6502 says, an epic cinematic style intro and cutscenes set the story, which has a distinct Battlestar Galactica feel about it. Aaron, you weren't the only one that saw these.
Well, I mean,
these
it was
comparisons
obvious,
here.
Mode. Come on.
The polygon models are good, and the 2D art nicely complements the 3D. In-game audio uses a lot of stock sound effects. I came to dislike the alert sound Elephant of Doom very quickly.
Oh, yeah.
Gameplay feels sparse at times, and there wasn't much action going on above or below you. Frame rate could be a little sluggish at times. Having now seen Alienator, Epic could have ran smoother.
Oh, man.
Lack of current mission information coupled with the time limit hinder one's enjoyment a little. Epic's not terrible, but also not the greatest game of this genre. Worth checking out for the intro sequence alone, but not one to go out of your way for. You may wish to play the more polished PC version instead, 7 out of 10. And that's going to do it for our Discord reviews, Aaron.
2 things I want to talk about real quick. And we don't usually talk about box art mode. But even the box art in this was sort of controversial. Did you read about this?
No.
So, the box art was done by the box art king, Bob Wakeland. Just amongst the things he's done is Whizball, that crazy box art, Batman, Renegade, Daley Thompson. Daley Thompson's got some awesome stuff on Head Over Heels. He's done tons of these things. Anyway, this is one of his last ever commissions from Ocean. He did a lot of Ocean stuff. And I was reading, and they were talking about, the wiki mentioned that he had that his box art had been approved by management, but it was not liked by the developers, right? And Wakeland alleged he had been given his brief. Okay, let me get this right. One of whom, Wakeland later alleges, one of the developers, had given him the brief to draw the box art while liquored up, basically. What? So, what's what Wakeland said? He said, listen, what do you want me to write on the box? And they drank a lot of booze, and then they said, okay, here's what we want. And so that's what he did, what they said, and they didn't like it. And they also said the look of the pilot, who's front and center on the front, who wearing his Jedi hat, is
That's straight out of
based
Star Wars.
on Harrison Ford and Mel Gibson. So you can call him Harrison Gibson.
People say that about me too.
Oh, yeah, Mel Gibson today. But yeah, Wakeland, an epic artist, and I actually like the art. One last thing I want to touch on here. I've done a lot of game pricing on this show, Bo. I have never seen a game more plentiful in wacky places than this game. Okay, the first one that struck me is when you can get this complete in box, $12 from China. I don't know why. China. Yeah, I don't know what's going on there. You can get this from the UK. I saw it go for $37, $42, $68, or best offer. I saw it $30, $10, and $58 in France. If you want to get it in Spain, that'll set you back $146 US. In Germany, $70, and in Italy, $23. So truly, an international affair when it comes to getting this game. There are plenty of copies to be had of this one if you want it. I actually, for $12 and plus $3 from China, I might take a shot at it, Boat, just because I like the box art.
Listen, I think you should.
Oh,
I'm in favor of that decision.
I also forgot that not only did you get, because this is to make it cooler, all right? Not only did you get the game, the box, the instructions, it also came with 3D glasses and a 3D poster. Ooh.
Oh.
So there you go, Boat. A winner, a true winner, Boat. It was epic. In all honesty, when I played this the first time, I begged for it to be great. But when I came back to it this time, I knew it wasn't that good. And I was like, well, here we go.
So where would you put this on the one-word description scale of games? Is it better than awesome?
No. I like Awesome more. Awesome is a playable game that I find amusing. I know, but now this is more of a technical achievement. I mean, listen, they were. You can see why this thing took a long time to do. There's a lot of. I mean, I feel like I sort of killed it because I don't like the control of the ship. But I mean, the actual ability, the engine's not bad.
Yeah,
it's sort of what we wanted last week from Alienator. It's got ground level targets that are fleshed out pretty well. The photon torpedoes are pretty cool. The cutscenes are great. The music that's in here is pretty good. It's colorful. But I just don't like the controls. I think they made a lot of poor choices when it comes to the way the ship handles, the way the missions are set up, the way the information's delivered to tell you what to do in the missions. I think the way you refuel, I think they didn't put enough thought into it. And really, the missions, I used the code words to go through and try some of the different missions. And really, there's a lot of sameness to it, you know.
It's essentially a fly here, blow something up. That's it. Now, I know there are like missions where you got to use the fuel scoop and stuff like that, but by and large, I mean, it's basically you're flying in, you're finding a target, you're blowing the target up.
But I mean, I wanted to love it because of the story. Also, listen, I hit the wall on the flavor text too much.
Yeah, it's too much.
Rein it in, guys.
All right, Aaron. So that's going to do it for our review of Epic. Why don't we leave our space future and go on to our space present over on the Amigos?
Space future reminds me of driving my old Chevy Nova in space. So maybe if that's what the future is, we're in deep trouble, Bo.
Look at that guy. He's not having fun in the future. I can tell you that.
That's the rock side. He's one of the bad guys. So, Bo, we had another week of wacky. I almost said wacky tobacco. Wacky antics this week, Bo. Let's start off with myself and the Brent. Boat this week on ARG Presents. It's a game, I believe this one was suggested by our good pal Mitsuyama, and it was a very difficult one to get my head around. Games that need to die, Boat. They need to die. And myself and Brent sort of went a roundabout way of doing this one and picked series that we think need to die. And I went after John Madden Football, which I played on the Apple II, by the way. That was interesting. By the way, don't ever let them tell you that Madden's too complicated now, because the Apple II version of this.
I was shocked to hear you guys talk about that. So that is very interesting.
Yeah, and then Brent went after something that everyone truly loves, but I mean it has been around for a while. And that's the Worms series. Went after Worms. Yeah, and listen, there was a spell where they were just beating us into the ground with those 3D games, but just. So I could see where Britt came from. So if you're interested in checking out what we were talking about on games that deserve to die, check this out. It was a lot of fun. By the way, just for an update, we'll be recording Sunday morning, 10 a.m. The topic this week, we're going to be defending games that scored 2 out of 10 or less votes. So that was also not easy to do. Let's talk about a man, a special man, a birthday man, and that is our own, the Flackster,
Edvin?
Jack Flack. Jack Flack. And Jack Flack released a Sprite Castle this week with the provocative title, Boat. It's almost like a controversial title, if I didn't know anything.
It's evocative. It encourages discussion in the comments.
And it's simply titled, "Is Mr. Do Simply a Poor Man's Dig Dug?" It's funny because whoever came up with that, I want to reach through the screen with both hands and just throttle them for being, because clearly what a antagonistic statement it was, because clearly Mr. Do crushes Dig Dug in every way.
It does. It does.
This was Sprite Castle reviews Mr. Do. And
we welcome Rob to Rob, of course, has been a fixture on our YouTube channel for many months now. He has decided to publish future episodes of the Sprite Castle podcast in video form on Amigos Retro Gaming. So if you listen to Rob through your podcatcher and you want to watch video versions of the show, you can find all future episodes, including Mr. Do, over on our YouTube channel.
This is outstanding news. I was so happy to hear that because I love Sprite Castle, and I'm glad Flack is with the video route. It's great. I love it. Now I can listen to it and watch it, which is what I do. So anyway, this week Flack goes into some Mr. Do on the C64. Have you played this on the C64, Boatster?
Listen, I avoid the C64 whenever I can.
Oh, man. Listen, this thing takes place in the dirt. It seems like it'd be perfect for the palette.
Yeah. If there's something the C64 can do well, it's brown.
Listen, I think it looks real good, Bode. And then we got into an interesting discussion on the Discord ranking the Mr. Do's this week.
Yeah, lots of different opinions about that. I was surprised.
Where Flack, his opinion was that Mr. Do's Wild Ride was like the second best Mr. Do. I was stunned by that. I couldn't believe it.
Yeah.
Because guess what? Mr. Do's Castle is honed into view, and that's the second in the list, in my opinion, of the great Mr. Do games.
I was going to talk about this later, but I'm going to talk about it right now.
Okay,
Tonight,
go.
You are in the midst of a hot and heavy fantasy football draft preparation season.
That's
we
true.
call it Preparation H. And
it should be called that, Boat.
I am going to be taking over the streaming duties tonight on the normal Amigo Aaron Friday Night Disaster stream, and I'm going to be playing every Mr. Do game for every system I can.
Holy smokes, Boat.
We're gonna hit the arcade releases. We're gonna check out the Amiga release of Do Run Run.
Oh.
We might even go over to the C64 side and try the original on the because I'll have the Mister. I'll have ultimate power.
Can you play Neo Mr. Do on there? You gonna give that one a whirl?
I can do it all, man, and we will do it all.
You're pulling a Frodo is what you're doing. I like it, man. That sounds good.
Heck yeah.
So, there you go. It's nice how you and Flack have dovetailed. I'm glad you guys worked this out months in advance.
We have. It was years, really.
I want to, again, recommend Sprite Castle, now on the channel, and that's Jack Flack with Mr. Do this week. Now, Boat, look at what you did. You made a video. Tell us about this
I made a video. Well, I was playing Epic, and I was like, boy, I bet there's somebody on the internet that's played this much better than I have that we can use for the show. Nope. There's nothing on Epic. There's a bunch of people that are talking over gameplay with very poor microphones. And then there's also some just really short 5-minute, this is the first time I've ever played it type videos.
Yeah.
So I decided to just fire it up and get as far as I could in about half an hour. And that's the video we used for the show this evening. So if you want to hear all the sound effects and the music and everything, there's no commentary on this video. You can just watch it in its purest form.
Very good, Boat. And now, Boat, I would request that you do the same video on the NEC, which there's also a video for. You can help a brother out there.
I will try and do that.
Now, speaking of pulling a Frodo,
is that entered the vernacular now?
That's now. You're pulling a Frodo. Our own Frodo NL. My God, what a man. He's back. He's back again. And it's, oh man, Boat, the first years of the Atari 8-bit family. Did you pay him to do this, Boat?
Yes, I did. I gave him $50 to make this video.
Holy smokes.
This is right up my alley. I'm going to watch the heck out of this tonight with the aid of some cold ones. It's going to be fantastic.
Oh man, look at this. I just I like.
I have that. I bought this basketball game because the way that they described it in the Atari catalog. Of course, there were no pictures in the Atari catalog.
Good move.
They were
eh?
like, "This is the most realistic simulation of on-court action you've ever seen." And so, yeah, Atari basketball, definitely.
Listen, having played a couple old school Amiga basketball games, I would say that this is well in line. And I think back to that thing I did for Amiga Magazine when I was just on the Amiga show, I should say, where I was. And I just watched him. I watched all that footage he sent me over and over, and I thought, this poor guy, why did he put himself through it? So, but this looks great. I love, Frodo always streams when I'm not around. It drives me because I used to be able to catch this stuff before school was back in. I'm hoping I can get back into it. Always gold. But some of these games, I got to say, I haven't seen a lot of these that he's playing here. So I'm anxious to give this a look myself. So that's Frodo.
In this version of Space Invaders.
This is a great version. Now, I've played the crap out of this back in the day.
I'll tell you, it's interesting because I grew up thinking that this was the arcade version of Space Invaders because I didn't know any different.
It's cool.
I never saw a Space Invaders, and it's cooler. It's got the mothership.
Yeah.
Now, it doesn't have the bases. Some people don't like the fact that you can't hide behind the bases, but I really like the way the invaders look. It's very colorful, and I think it's a solid version of the game.
It's a beauty. Yeah, I think it's quite good. So that's Frodo again. Check him out, and please check out Frodo NL's channel on Twitch. Solid gold money, Boat. But I think that's all we've got here. What are you and the Neilster getting up to this week?
Well, it's funny you asked because we nearly lost our show again. This is the second week in a row that Riverside, which was what we used to record our episodes, has sort of given out on us. I just saw, as I was looking at the Discord reviews, a message came in from our intrepid video producer, Duncan Stiles, saying that he was able to salvage a copy of the show. So we will have episode 49 of This Week in Retro released at some point. We talked about, Aaron, did you ever see in hotel rooms back in the early 2000s? I know you've seen the inside of a couple hotel rooms, if you know what I'm saying.
Hey,
but
I was young. I needed the money.
Yeah, but did you ever, and on your trips there, did you ever pause at the television to see if there was an N64 system hooked up to the television?
Are you kidding me? In the hotels I was in, it'd be lucky if there was a calculator wired to it.
Apparently, there was they made these things called Gateway 64s, which were specially modded N64s that charged you by the hour to play games.
And waterproof, no doubt. Yeah.
And the games that they chose were weird. They chose games like Paper Mario, Ocarina of Time, short little get in, get out type games, right?
Yeah.
Well, it turns out that these games have never really been fully explored to see if they actually are different than the commercially released games until now. Ocarina of Time has been dumped, and they're looking through it to see, because unlike the original Ocarina of Time, where you start out as the kid Link, you actually start out as adult Link. So maybe there's some other things that are different about this version of the game. Of course, charging you by the hour, I'm sure they didn't think anybody was going to play longer than an hour with a game like that.
I would think they'd have something like Custer's Last Stand 64 or something, more body titles on there.
You would think that. You would think that. Now, there's also been a new CDI-based Mario game.
Oh, God, no. What? This shows you guys have uncovered some real dirt this week. Holy God.
We also talk about, of special interest to our Amiga fans, we talked about how the Amiga computer was used in NASA as part of a vehicle telemetry computer. And so there was a new article on Hackaday talking about that. And finally, Aaron, this is calling back to an earlier episode of ARG Presents. We talked about the new Unreal Engine version of The Simpsons Hit and Run.
Oh, jeez. Britt will be pleased. Don't tell him.
So yeah, if you're into the week's hottest retro news from all corners of the gaming universe, make sure you check out This Week in Retro either in your favorite podcatcher or on the This Week in Retro podcast channel or YouTube channel.
You better thank the Dunk for saving your bacon there.
Yeah, thank you, Duncan. He works miracles. Trust me, he's the man.
Is this the system you've been trying to get me to switch over to? The one that keeps losing your shows?
I'm starting to turn the corner. I'm going to be honest with you. I don't think I'm going to recommend it anymore.
What are you doing? By the way, we should mention here while we're still lingering around the YouTube here, our own buddy RMC himself actually formally released his gimmick this week.
Yes.
Here we go. The Mr. Multi-System. We spoke about this a little bit last week, and Neil takes it out and fires it up here. This thing looks pretty rad, Bo.
Listen, I think this thing is going to sell. Well, I don't think I know. He announced it's going to sell for 150 pounds.
Yeah,
okay?
I saw that.
So what do you get for 150 pounds? You get the Mister, you get the board, you get everything. You don't
get the Mister.
You don't get the Mister.
You get You get the thing that shoves into the Mister.
You get the thing that shoves into the Mister. Do you get the case?
I don't know if the case is with that. I think that might.
I'm not going to lie to you. I don't know what's going on with this video.
Do you ever speak with Neil? I know you guys have a show.
We don't really talk. We're sort of like the Beach Boys in the 80s. We leave in separate limos.
I do like the fact that Neil whips out his hairdryer to heat this thing up, and I'm thinking about, so what's Neil doing with a hairdryer? Same thing I am, I guess.
So you get you basically get the bare board,
right?
That is the special Mr. Multi-System board, which offers you a USB hub. It sits flat, and it gives you a SCART cable. To be honest, I think this thing is going to be a bigger hit in Europe and in the UK than in the US because of that SCART. I know that SCART thing is a big deal to a lot of folks overseas.
I know the reason you're having trouble here is because you didn't buy all this extra crap for yours like I did.
No, because I don't need it.
So the extra crap, it ain't cheap, brother. You know what I'm saying?
You're right.
You got to get the RAM, 128 megs of RAM. Don't think that's cheap because this is, I don't know what's happened there, but you got to pay. Then you got to get the VGA gimmick, right? That's got all the switches on it, the second SD card slot, and you also have to pay for the USB hub. This thing's got all that crap built into one thing. Added bonus, you get the SCART connector, plus you get an expansion port, which I don't get that. Plus it's got the ports on it to add the joysticks with the zero delay gimmick on it. So this thing is, you're saving money. Like if I had the Mister in my hand and I hadn't bought all the other baloney for mine, I would buy this just for the fact that it's just all the stuff I want, all cheaper, So
yeah,
there you go. And then, by the way, you can put it in a wacky case. Sounds good to me, man. It's a bargain. Like I don't know how they're selling it that cheaply. That's a fact.
And the thing that really impresses me is they're selling it that cheaply, and it's produced in the UK.
Yeah, his buddy's making it down there.
Yeah, they're not sending this thing to the deepest, darkest holes of China to put this thing together. They're doing it all in house with local support. Yeah. So I like that a lot.
I will say, just to close the door on this, because I think this is. I'm not just saying this because I like Neil. He's a good buddy. But if you've got a Mister and you don't have the extra crap, just get one of these. And if you haven't got a Mister yet, you've been waiting, you're on the fence, this is a better way to go because it's all integrated. Plus, you just get more stuff. Right. More stuff's good. And if you're getting more stuff cheaper, great. And then if you want the case, you're ready to go. You don't have to have it. I mean, listen, I've got an Amiga mounted on my wall right here. So you can mount crap anywhere, just like Doug. Remember Doug, that episode where he just mounted that Amiga on the back of a monitor? I think he used some duct tape or some tacks, something like that, to stick that sucker up. You can do that too. You got all the options are there. But this thing's a heck of a bargain.
Right. And so this thing is going to go on sale in October, and they are not going the usual route of Kickstarter or any kind of crowdfunding. They're taking straight up orders. Yeah. And they've ramped up. They've got production to run these things in significant quantities. So you don't have to worry about getting screwed. This thing is going to come out. It's going to be great, and you're going to love it. So I'm just like you. If you haven't yet dipped your toe into the Mr. Pool, this is the thing that you want to get because it's everything that you need. Plus, you're future-proofed with that edge connector, whatever cool, wacky stuff might come out in the future. Mm-hmm. You've got the snack support built in. There's no reason not to get this thing.
Yeah, I got to give him credit, man. And it's the fact that he's in a building with the dude making these, and they can work together on it. And those guys it's not like those guys just fell off the turnip truck either. Like they've been doing this stuff for decades, Right. So, and he said they could produce 15,000 of these a week or a month or something, and they're going to be shipping these things in October. They'll be ready to roll. So, these will be out by Christmas time in your hand. There you go. So there's my plug for that. That's a freebie, Neil, because I'm your boy. All right. Let's take this thing to the closing chat, Bo. What do you think?
Let's do it, man. So it's time, Aaron, to talk about last week's Patreon song. Now, we did get one new supporter this week. His name is Herman V.
He must not have heard the song.
Okay. And last week we had only one, Aaron. One person. And this person, he's been on it almost every week. He's rarely first, but he's been consistent with correct guesses. I like to call him the Pack Billy of late 2021, if you will. And that's high praise. It's Mitsuyama, Aaron. Mitsuyama got the answer right. The answer was Stay by Lisa Loeb and the 9 Stories.
That was Stay?
Heck yeah, it was.
That was
Heck
Stay?
Yeah, it was.
I got to go back and listen to that again because at no point during, I mean, you barely had any sort of melodic tune there. What, were you rapping it? What was that?
There was a freestyle rap section in the middle, but I mean, I made it my own. So, if you know this week's Patreon song challenge, send me an email at john@amigospodcast.com.
Don't say it in the chat.
Don't say it in the chat. And I will announce you as a winner on next week's episode. This is going to get real interesting.
Oh, man.
Herman V. Wallander says him. Mark Richardson, David Hearn. Chris Edwards, Rambo K. Ramo K. David Terrace, Jude Carlos, Matthew Mobius, the Phantom Magnus, Seth Yates, Alistair Fiend, Christian Russell, David Z, George Rosansky, The Amiga Show, Daniel Crabtree, Super Family King, Crazy Loomis, William Vitchescar, Heavy Systems Inc., Bundy Frag Lord, Mark Byland, Olaf, Ho Permsky, Jonah, a.k.a. Simulant, Alien Breeder, David Losser, Raptor, Cal, Bird Boy, Lane Denson, Luke Hudson, John Cook, Bomb the Bass, Frodo, Winner, Soul, Incisor, Techmate Jurgen, Mr. Cola, Bernard Lucas, yeah, Jerry Dennington, Zorg, Love, Reflection, Simon Lesh, Captain, Crispy, Killer, Bison, Caffeine, Gary, Heather, Freeland, Kate, Fox, David Pickford, Cameron Armstrong, Andy Jones, Terminator, 10-Minute Amiga Cast, Bernard Quinn, RMC Tim Drew, Simon Rose, Joseph Harrison, Kyle Eder, Rob O'Hara, Matthew Lara Moore, Andy Cricksonso, Barkbed, Roland Burke, Andrew Muckshow, the Zombie Leaf Kalon, Alec Kebab, Checote, Level Lord, John Marshall, Matthew Perron, Ricky the Roche, a creepy dead boy figure, CTC, the Sonora, Stefan Sorgon Mortensen, Evan Helen, Christopher Hassel, Ravi Abbott, Chris Foles, Lauren Giroux, Graham Bebke, Adam Battersby, O'Brien's Retro and Vintage, Gary Helker, Paul Harrington, Duncan Styles, Taste from the Crib, Josh Nan, Adam Bradley Jonas, Rulo THC, Eric Nelson, Kim, Tommy Humbertstad, Daniel Bingston, Brutal Barracuda, Derek Coles, Jason Wards, Pixels at Dawn, and Kjellbjorn Barman.
Oh, man, I felt like I was at a hootenanny, and you were calling a square dance up there, Bo. All you needed was a fiddle in your arm.
Thank you.
It was crap, but that's what it reminded me of, like a real bad square dance.
Well, that's every square dance.
That's... when you were in school, did they make you learn square dancing?
Am I from West Virginia?
So, yes.
Yes,
okay,
of course.
Me too. Yeah. No one likes that, do they?
No. Even the prospect of like being paired up with a girl couldn't save that.
And that prospect was dim sometimes.
It was. I definitely did my share of going to my corner with a male partner.
Yeah.
If you know what I'm saying. So, all right, Aaron. It's also time to thank the fine folks that listen to the show live on Twitch and decide to throw us a couple bucks through Twitch. Our Twitch subscribers, Aaron, you can support the show through Twitch. If you have an Amazon Prime subscription, you get 1 free Twitch sub per month. You can use that on us, or you can just subscribe the natural way. I want to thank the
You act like if they do it the other way, they're on steroids or something. You can do it the unnatural way.
So we want to thank our Twitch subscribers: Macintosh Librarian, Brock101, Demo Scene TV, John Marshall, Matt Dufort, Paco Take, Luminate08, Wide World of Retro, Am I Steph, 48K Ram, L. Curtis Boyle, Blue Train, Dead Louse 75, Neg Saul, Retro Jerry, Explorer, ChronosNet, Worlds of Rogue, Texas Foosballer, Back to 8-Bit with Hermsky, Scumboy, Datadog UK, Tinfoil, Eeyore4077, Rod CL34, Rob O'Hara, Uber Scuba Diver, Great Al G, Peeplo, Zamamune, Gary Hucker, Gary Heather, Frodo NL, Jigglebox, Crabs MTG, R-Typer, Beach Bum 7, Captain Chaos DK, Happy Coding, ZX, Mitsuyama, Oram, Blow Jellyfish, Mr. Toast 6502, HSEI Ken. Thank you guys so much for subscribing to us on Twitch. And don't forget, Twitch subscribers get all of the same access to our Discord server as Patreon supporters. So if you are a Twitch subscriber and you would like to get an invite to our Discord server, as long as you subscribe to us on Twitch, you will have access to where all the cool people on the internet hang out, the Amigos Retro Gaming Discord server.
Absolutely. And there's a lot of good stuff going on in there. You know, I was thinking about something the other day, Boat. As a brief sidebar here, because I know we're running long, but you know, we get a lot of people that give us money every month, and we appreciate it. But not everyone is on the Discord, all right? There are people we never see or talk to. You, the person listening to my voice right now, you've never reached out. You've supported us, but you've taken just one step short of going to the pay window, Boat. That's just a hang and bang with all of our buddies, the cool people, the cool kids. You can sit at the big table in the big restaurant across the tracks. You know what I'm talking about, in the mansion.
Mm-hmm.
Come down. If we get one guy to come down this week, I'm begging one of you that's never taken advantage of your Discord, email the Boat, let him set you up, come meet us.
John at AmigosPodcast.com.
That's right, because the people in Discord, I know you're listening to this show and you're like, look at these geeks. But the people in there are way cooler than we are, and they're fun to talk to and smart. There you go, Bo. That's my pitch.
That's awesome. I love it, man. All right, Aaron. Next week, it is Puzzle Game Week here, okay? And our game is going to be called Diggers.
Oh, okay, I've heard of that. Yeah, okay. Man. Yeah.
This was picked by, I was nominated by Amigos Game Selection Committee Chairman Pixels at Dawn, and of course was voted on by our illustrious Amigos Game Selection Committee, and we appreciate that. We appreciate them for choosing this week's game, Epic, which was a nominee by the one, the only Paul Bossman Harrington. So we appreciate that.
He's probably awesome at it too.
He is. And Aaron, of course, before we go, we've got to give special shout outs to everybody watching us right now on the Twitch, because we appreciate having them in the chat. It makes us feel like we're not alone, even though we are alone. It's always good to have some people pointing out interesting facts and other strange things on the chat. So here we go, Aaron. Here is who's joined us in chat right now. Well, first of all, we've got our killer moderators, Duncan Styles and Pixels at Dawn Gaming. They rule. We've also got Tinmark here with us. We've got Amiga Live. We got Arkward Aardvark. We got Back to 8-Bit with Hermsky. Barkbits here. Beach Bum 7. Bitstorm. Cobrian. Commander Root. Crabs MTG. Dan versus Donuts. Dave Velociraptor. Dedicated Lurking 925. Edmund Helen is with us. Happy birthday again, Edmund. We're glad that you are mildly inebriated and enjoying the show from the comforts of the cave. Frodo NL is here with us. We always enjoy having Frodo and the Huck here with us. Gary Hucker. We got Gordon Westside, Hamo1, Hannah Vig, Happy Coding, ZX, author of the Asteroids ZX Spectrum game that was so good. HSEI Ken is with us. Herziger. We got Ian, Jabasoft, Jason Warrens, Jebanaike, John Marshall's here with us, a local from Charleston, Knight Rider 82, L, Curtis Boyle,
all hail,
Lord Soup, Makia 3000, Mitsuyama, Oil of Hope, Picard 2010, Pigfisher 83, R-Typer, RetroRewind.ca, Remastino, Rob, Flack, O'Hara, Rod CL34. Steven Spielberg has joined us again for like the fourth week in a row. We really appreciate his support.
Yeah,
he's contributing to the show. Yeah, he's contributing to the Patreon on the $2,500 a week level. Super Tech Boy is here with us. Tadpole 200, Texas Foosballer, Tongadosa, V&K, Wishbone, Oxcado, and Explorer. Thank you guys so much for joining us on this evening of Amigos.
Before we go, Boat, two things.
Okay,
two
man.
things. Thing one, Boat, if he hasn't, he will be putting up the sign-up sheet for the ICC.
I will be. If I had not had to come to your house to give you your fabulous birthday present, I would have had time to do that.
That's why you're off the hook. And also, I'm too dumb to do it. So, start signing up now. It will be the usual gimmick. Put your time in. Put what you want to do and how long you think it's going to be, and if you care what position you are in the lineup.
So, please explain ICC to people that might be tuning into the show for the first time.
Briefly, International Computer Club, Boat. For those folks that either can't get to the local computer club because of the unpleasantness, Boat, or don't even have a computer club like us until we had to start our own. And hey, listen, come join our club. We'll take you. We love you. We want to hear what you've got to say. What are you working on? What crazy plans, diabolical schemes are you hatching up the privacy of your own home? Share it with the world at International Computer Club, Boat. International Computer Club, tentatively scheduled once again to be kicking off September 18th, and we're shooting at 6 o'clock p.m. Eastern Standard Time. That way it's not mega late for anybody, hopefully.
I love it. I love it, man.
Boat, and it should be a good time. So please, sign up in the Discord, ICC Discord channel, and we will fill that sucker up. No one will be turned away. We'll literally be entertained by anything. Hey, I'm the MC, so I need plenty of people to make me look good, which is almost impossible. Secondly, Boat, second thing, contests. Let's hear them.
Contest. The high score challenge is
That's
on
right, Boat.
Like it's never been on before. So we're going to start things off with the old Amigos high score challenge. All right. And we're going to, of course, this week we are still cracking on with Bomb Jack Beer Edition, Aaron. Beer Edition. When you put Beer Edition in the name of your game, you know you're up to some good stuff.
Not necessarily.
Well, probably not.
What a top banana, Beer Edition.
Epic Beer Edition. Z9K9 still reigns supreme, but Pajaco's right behind him. And, of course, Hermsky, Barkbit, and Mitsuyama putting on a strong fight, too. If you want to jump in, this is a free game, I believe, you can download. And you can throw in your high score on the Discord in the Amigos High Score Challenge place. And we also have launched, that has just now happened, Rodland, Aaron. This literally just broke this week because we just recorded last week's episode of Our Sinclair where we announced that Rodland was going to be our next game. So far, no scores up yet. I may give this a go sometime this weekend and put up a score because I always like to contribute to these things when I remember. And Rodland's one of my favorite games of all time.
I know.
It's one of the greatest discoveries I've made thanks to Amigos.
There you go. Take it to the house, Boat.
Let's do it. We will see you guys next time, next week, for Diggers. Until then, adios.